There are touches that brush the skin, and then there are touches that leave fingerprints on your soul. This is a story about a woman who wasn't just loved, she was felt. About presence over passion, silence over noise, and a connection so deep it lingered long after goodbye. If you've ever longed for a love that doesn't just hold you, but sees you, this story is yours. There are touches that brush the skin, and then there are touches that unravel you. The kind that don't come often, but when they do, you never forget them. You carry them in your bones, you relive them in quiet moments, in dreams, in music, in the spaces between heartbeats. Adele had known love in many forms, fleeting ones, passionate ones, convenient ones, but she had never been felt. Not truly. Not until Ezra. It started on a rainy Thursday, the kind of day the world forgets to smile. She was in the bookstore, fingers tracing the spines of poetry collections, like she was searching for something more than paper. Something aching to be seen. He was there too, hidden in the philosophy section. Eyes scanning Rilke and Pessoa like he was trying to read the meaning of life between lines. Their eyes met between shelves, a shared glance, not flirtatious but curious, as if each had caught a ghost of something in the other. It wasn't dramatic, not like in movies. It was quiet, subtle, but undeniable. They didn't speak that day. It took another encounter, another bookstore visit, for their story to begin. She was reaching for a worn copy of Letters to a Young Poet. So was he. Their hands met, fingers brushed. It should have been nothing, but it felt like something cracked, something opened. Ezra smiled. Rilke always knows what to say when the world doesn't. Adele blinked. I was just thinking that. He let her take the book. She offered coffee. He accepted. That first conversation was not filled with surface talk. It was deep, instant, terrifyingly honest. No pretense, no roles to play, just two souls peeling themselves open like old letters never mailed. He didn't touch her again that day, not physically, but she went home feeling as though he had. Touched something inside her, some part she thought had withered with past loves, the kind that left behind cold hands and colder goodbyes. Their connection grew slowly, not rushed, like a song that doesn't need to reach the chorus too soon. Ezra was all patience, presence. He didn't speak just to speak. He listened in ways that made Adele's silence feel seen. He didn't reach to possess. He waited to be invited. The first time he touched her was a month later, on a rooftop where they watched the city blur into dusk. She was speaking of her fears, the fear of being too much, of being too tender in a world that praised hardness.
Ezra didn't interrupt. He simply reached out and placed his hand gently over hers. It wasn't the touch itself. It was what came with it. It was the way it didn't demand. It didn't attempt to fix or rescue. It just was. And in that stillness, Adele felt something collapse inside her. The part that had always braced for rejection, for misunderstanding, for being made small. Ezra's touch didn't try to tame her chaos. It sat beside it. "I feel like you hear my silence," she whispered. Ezra met her eyes. "I do, because it's saying things even your words can't." That night, she lay awake for hours replaying that moment. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was sacred. It had reached deeper than skin. It was the kind of touch that lingers, not in memory alone, but in the very way your breath changes afterward. Their intimacy wasn't built on lust, it was built on something rarer: presence. He noticed the way she played with her necklace when anxious. She noticed how he hummed softly when thinking. Every brush of the arm, every kiss of the shoulder, every glance across a room. They were all part of a quiet language no one else spoke. And when they finally made love, it didn't feel like an act. It felt like communion. Ezra kissed her like she was a sonnet, held her like she was a season that might never return, moved with her like music, not the kind that roars, but the kind you only hear when you close your eyes. And Adele? She felt. It was the kind of intimacy that made time irrelevant, that made past lovers feel like shadows, that turned silence into poetry and distance into longing. But even beautiful things are not immune to the world's chaos. Ezra got the job in Lisbon. He told her with a mixture of joy and ache. "It's a dream, Del, but I won't go if—" "No," she interrupted, forcing a smile through breaking breath. "You have to. You must. Because real love doesn't clip wings. It watches them soar, even if it breaks your heart." Their last night together was quiet. No declarations. Just hands, eyes, breath, touch. When he left, she didn't beg him to stay, but as the door closed, she whispered, "Please remember how we touched." He did. Ezra wrote letters from Lisbon, each one a soft reminder of a connection geography could not sever. He spoke of new streets, foreign skies, and always of her. Adele answered with poems, half-finished ones, honest ones. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew this: she had been touched in the truest sense. And that changed everything. Because now, every time someone reached for her, she no longer settled for empty hands. She no longer craved attention. She waited for presence. She no longer wanted to be touched. She wanted to be felt. P.S. Years passed. Life went on. New faces came. Some stayed, some didn't. But Adele never forgot Ezra. Not for longing, but for awakening. He had shown her what real touch could be. Not fingers on flesh, but connection that moves beneath the surface. She became a writer, taught others about vulnerability, and in quiet rooms filled with strangers, she would often say, "Don't chase people who reach for your body, but not your soul. Wait for the one whose touch turns silence into safety and absence into art." And somewhere in Lisbon, Ezra would still hold on to a worn, annotated copy of Letters to a Young Poet, knowing exactly what she meant.